Mr. Gillette, what do you offer in place of the way the city charter is written now? How would you rather see it written?
I feel that we should have the election of a councilman by the district in which he represents, by his own neighbors. This would bring it down to the means of the community in which he lives, or the area in which he lives, of having an opportunity to know him, to be able to contact him properly, and for him to be able to afford to run, because therefore his expenses wouldn't be near so great covering just one area as it would be an entire city.
Now, the federal court in Houston will either require a new trial, which you did not get in the first place, or it will agree with the lower courts. In either case, what will be your next steps?
We wouldn't attempt to anticipate what the court would do. We have spent something like 18 months now in pursuing this issue. We have spent a great deal of time and a great deal of money. My attorney, Joseph Devaney, has given a great deal of his time to it. We couldn't just, if we felt that this was a decision that needed to go further, we couldn't drop it. We would have to go on to the Supreme Court with it. On the other hand, if we felt like the court had given sufficient reasons there that would justify us to stop.
Mr. Gillette, what do you offer in place of the way the city charter is written now? How would you rather see it written?
I feel that we should have the election of a councilman by the district in which he represents, by his own neighbors. This would bring it down to the means of the community in which he lives, or the area in which he lives, of having an opportunity to know him, to be able to contact him properly, and for him to be able to afford to run, because therefore his expenses wouldn't be near so great covering just one area as it would be an entire city.
Apparently there is a great deal of discontent among teachers with the present school policy, which does not permit classroom teachers to administer corporal punishment. Perhaps this has arisen from a lack of discipline in our school system.
Is this directed against schools in one particular area, say in problem areas or poverty areas?
I think when teachers first began talking about this, that perhaps they thought some schools were affected much more than others. However, in the vote yesterday, we had representatives from throughout our school system, and the vote was unanimous, which indicates that there is support for the administering of corporal punishment by classroom teachers throughout the district.
We, of course, have the highest regard for members of this professional staff. As a matter of fact, we've said on many occasions that you'll not find a better teaching staff anywhere. I'm convinced that they have at heart the best interest of the boys and girls in the school district. However, I might add that this policy was adopted after considerable thought and considerable study by members of this professional staff, and that, in effect, I'm convinced that it's a sound policy and it's one that ought to be continued. And certainly before we would entertain any kind of a change in the policy now, we would want to give it careful consideration.
Mr. Hydell, what was the first thing that you saw?
Well, the first thing I seen, that he was coming out, there's a dog come out over there across the street, came out from between the alley there. And me and this man's inside of here. Well, we was standing there talking, and he come across here. Then I went and told him, I said, what's that dog got? He said, I don't know. And he went across over here, and then this guy across over here, they tried to stop him, I think, and they never did stop him. He would come around here and then come right here. Then I told him, I said, that looked like a baby to me. He said, yeah, that's what it looked like. He said, let's try to stop him. So when he came around behind here, I was trying to stop him around here, and he had him off, and we stopped him right there, and the dog dropped and went through the fence.
Astronauts Schirra, Cunningham, and Isley on board spent nearly 11 days in space, running shakedown tests on the new Apollo craft. Scheduled December flight, astronaut Frank Borman, his second time in space. With him, Command Module pilot James Lovell, marking his third space assignment. Astronaut William Anders rounds out the three-man crew and will serve as lunar module pilot. The Saturn V rocket, shown here on its way to the launch site, will lift 6 million pounds of stages, equipment, and men off the pad. This will be the first time the moon rocket has been manned. Their mission, a round trip to the moon. Coming lunar flight, I talked with Mr. William C. Schneider, Apollo Mission Director.
Well, the Apollo 8 will begin gathering in for us our first information on manned lunar activities. We are particularly interested in 3 specific phases of the mission, namely navigation, communications, and thermal control.
Judge Matthews also made news today as the presiding chairman of the Juvenile Board, which allocated $1.5 million of Tarrant County money for a 45-bed juvenile detention center. Fire department officials in Fort Worth continue to investigate last night's explosion and fire in the Proctor Paint and Body Shop on South Riverside. Gas or fumes are blamed for the explosion and fire, which destroyed the building and damaged half a dozen vehicles. There was some good news in Fort Worth today. Applications totaling more than $1 million were received for construction projects, including an office building, an apartment house, and 2 restaurants. From Fort Worth, this is Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News.
If you think the passenger service is nice, the new Braniff Terminal here at Dallas Love Field, you should see how they treat the baggage. Well, first you come through a hall like this, which is of course all brand new, and takes you from the old portion of Love Field into the new Braniff Terminal. This new Braniff Terminal was built at an expense of about $9 million, and it includes 13 loading gates, several group rooms, and other all-new and unique features for Braniff. For flight information, this unique board, the only one of its kind in the world, which has absolutely up-to-the-minute information about every flight arriving and departing from the Braniff Terminal. It's run from the Operations Center of the Braniff Wing. Another colorful part of the Braniff's new passenger terminal wing is the waiting area. This is where passengers who are waiting to emplane sit, colorful seats, and a very comfortable lounge with smoked glass windows overlooking Love Field. And of course, this is not the only colorful section. Another colorful feature of Braniff's new terminal is this multi-plane, circular passenger arrival and departure lounge. This lounge, built in the form of a circle, is the part of the $9 million passenger wing, which will accept 4 aircraft all at the same time, and of course the equivalent number of passengers. The wing will go into operation at 2 o'clock Saturday morning. Anne Braniff expects some 200 airplanes daily and 3 million passengers the first year. It's an investment which only lasts until 1972, but Braniff International expects it to pay off in that length of time. This is Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News at Love Field.